السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وبارك على الأشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، حياكم الله إخوان وبارك الله فيكم. Alhamdulillah, over these previous weeks we've had an opportunity to go through some of the chapters in relation to ṭahūr, where we've discussed the affair of water itself and purification of water itself, as well as the action of purifying yourself when using the bathroom, مثلا, as well as purifying yourself from the minor impurity. Purifying yourself from the minor impurity, which is of course the action of what? Wudu. Naam. And so this week we go on to mention and go on to discuss the purification from the major impurity. How one purifies themselves from the major impurity, and that is no doubt the purification of al-Ghusl. The purification of al-Ghusl. And the Ghusl, first and foremost, you have two reading or two ways to pronounce this word. When you have the ghayn, the sin, and the lam. So you have the ghusl and you have the ghasl. Now the ghusl with the dhamma and the ghasl. Does anyone know the difference between the two? The difference between the ghusl with dhamma and ghasl with fatha.
Ghusl is shower, having a shower.
Ghusl having a shower, okay.
And ghasl is to wash something other than yourself.
Now, essentially that's the difference. So ghusl is what is referred to as ghusl, let's say ghusl first, with the fatha, is known as a fi'l muta'addi. Is a fi'l, or is derived from is action which is muta'addi. So an action which is muta'addi, so it's an action which is done to something else. So you'd say, for example, ghusl for the ghusl mayyit, washing the dead, washing the deceased. Because you're doing the washing to something else, the deceased in this case. As for the ghusl bid-dhamma, the ghusl bid-dhamma is referring to the washing of oneself. And it's going back to the fi'l which is lazim. So it's an action which is done to oneself. And so no doubt, when we're referring to this affair of the purification, then it's the ghusl of the janābah. Washing oneself and cleaning oneself from this impurity. And Shaykh al-Islām raḥimahullāh, he mentions that the affair of ghusl or washing is of two types. The washing is of two types, whether that be ghusl or ghasl. So he makes jump between the two, and he mentions there are two types. There's one which is wajib, so you have the washing which is an obligation, and then you have the washing which is mustahab. You have the washing which is recommended, and it's mustahab. As for the obligatory washing, then this is first and foremost the ghusl janābah. The ghusl janābah, and this is what we're going to discuss further in more detail today. The ghusl of the hayd, the ghusl al-mayyit, and the ghusl of Islam. So the first is the ghusl janābah, and if so, to remove the major impurity. That's the first. The second is the washing for the hayd, when the woman has finished her menses and then she does the washing. Na'am, she washes herself. The third is ghusl al-mayyit, is washing the deceased. Again, an obligation. So the third is ghusl al-mayyit, washing the deceased. And then the fourth is the ghusl of Islam. What do you think that means? The ghusl of Islam. Now, so when someone embraces Islam, that they make the ghusl. So Shaykh al-Islam here, he's referring to this washing as an obligation. Now, he's referring to this washing as an obligation. The washing when a person becomes Muslim. And the dalil which is used for that, is a narration which is found in Musnad of Imam Ahmad, where he mentions, there's the mention, إِذَا بِلَوَ حَائِطِ الْبَنِ فُلَانِ فَمُرُّوهُ أَنْ يَغْتَسِلْ. I go to the dwellings of Bani Fulan and command him to wash. Referring to the individual that had embraced Islam. So, however, the reality is that this narration itself is one which has an isnad which is da'if. The isnad is da'if. Na'am. And so thus the hadith is da'if. Isnad is da'if, so the hadith is da'if. And so, in reality, we would not say that the ghusl, the washing rather, for the one that embraces Islam, rather, even though it's something which is encouraged to do, it's not said that this is an obligation. Naam, that it becomes an obligation. The one that embraces Islam, it becomes an obligation. Likewise, what we mentioned with this is that the washing for the person that embraces Islam is a washing which is for both forms. So whether they are embracing Islam aslan, or whether they are embracing Islam as a result of a ridda, whether they're embracing Islam as a result of them apostating. Na'am, the recommendation for a person to perform the ghusl is one and the same in both scenarios. Na'am, does that make sense? So it doesn't matter if his person embraced Islam for the first time, or the person was Muslim, apostated, and then he's embracing Islam again. We both are one and the same. Both are one and the same, and the recommendations for them to perform the ghusl. But it's a recommendation, and it's not an obligation. Naam, because the narration mentioning the command to perform the ghusl has a da'f within it. It has a weakness within it. So that's the first type of washing. First type of washing is what? What type of washing is it? Barakallahu feekum? Wajib. Naam, the obligatory washing. The second is the washing which is mustahabba. Naam, the washing which is recommended. And an example of that is the washing where a person, as is mentioned here again by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, yuqsad bihi al-nadhafa. So the intention in this washing is that they want to clean themselves. Na'am. Because they are going to meet, or they're going to be in gatherings with people. Na'am. So they want to be in a clean state, in a generally clean state. Yeah, in a literally clean state. And no doubt this affair of the washing of oneself is something which is mustahab. And this ghusl, Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah mentions, he enters a lot of examples into this type of ghusl. So he mentions, raḥimahullah, for example, the ghusl of Jum'ah. The ghusl of Jum'ah. Or the ghusl of Eidain. Likewise, the ghusl for kusuf. Ghusl referring to what?
Eclipse.
The eclipse prayer. So he mentions that performing the ghusl before the eclipse prayer even. Naam, istisqa. Istisqa is what?
For the water.
The water.
Like if you're no one water, you pray.
Seeking rain. Naam, so essentially seeking the rain. Naam. And likewise as well, the ightisal for the ihram. Ightisal al-ihram. So a person performing the ghusl before they enter the state of ihram. These are all examples of the ghusl which is mustahab. And so the person performs the ghusl because they intend to do a particular action. And so in this case, it is mustahab. The second example, or the second form of a ghusl which is mustahab, is a ghusl which has been legislated for a particular reason. A ghusl which has been legislated for a particular reason. I specified in this particular scenario. What is an example of that, and what is meant by that, is that you have the ghusl of the mustahaba. So, the mustahada, for example, is the woman that has irregular bleeding. So it's not bleeding which is her menses, but it's bleeding which is no doubt regarded as being from or najasa. So there's still some form of impurity, and so she washes away the blood. Now, what is sufficient and what is the obligation upon her before she performs the salah is to wash away any form of impurity, and then perform the wudu, and then perform the salah. That's the obligation. However, as mentioned here, then what she can do further is actually perform ghusl. Naam, and this is the particular scenario. In this particular scenario, then she has the ability to perform ghusl in that regard, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Tayyib. Thereafter, we have the speech from Qudāmah raḥimahullah, when it begins the bab al-Ghusl al-Janābah, the chapter referring to the washing oneself from the janābah, state of janābah. And wal-mūjib lahu, and what it, from the things that make it an obligation and make it a necessity to do so, is a khuruj al-mani. And so this is the emittance of semen. So when you have the emittance of semen, then in this scenario, the individual must perform ghusl. So it is the emittance of this particular substance, and it's understood that it is that it comes with an affair of desire as well. It comes with desire. And the dalil for this, the proof for this, is found within the kitab, the sunnah, and the ijma'. So it's found within the kitab, the sunnah, and ijma'. As for the dalil within the book of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, is the ayah, أَوْ لَا مَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَلَمْ تَجِدُوا مَاءً فَتَيَمَّمُوا. Or the ayah previous to that rather, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَنْتُمْ سُقَارَى حَتَّى تَعْلَمُوا مَا تَقُولُونَ وَلَا جُنُبًا إِلَّا عَابِرِي السَّبِيلِ حَتَّى تَغْتَسِلُوا. And so the ayah mentions that do not approach the salah whilst you are in a state of intoxication until you know that which you are saying. Nor the one that is in the state of janābah, except for the one that is upon a journey. No one should do so until they perform the ghusl, until they purify themselves, or they have had intercourse with the women and they do not find water, then they must perform the tayammum. Likewise, you have the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ جُنَبًا فَطَهَّرُوا. And if you are in a state of janābah, then purify yourself. Again, this is adillah from the book of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. As for the adillah which is found in the Sunnah of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, then you have the narration of Sulaym. The narration of Sulaym, which is mutafaqan alayhi, and he found in Bukhari and Muslim. Where he mentions, Ya Rasulullah, inna Allah la yastahi min al-haq. هل على المرأة من الغسل ومن غسل إذا هي احتملت. Naam. And so Sulaym mentions, O Messenger of Allah, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not, or Allah ta'ala is not shy when it comes to the revelation of truth. Is there a ghusl which is performed by the woman if she has a sexual dream? And then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentions, Na'am, إِذَا رَأَتِ الْمَاءِ. So he mentions, alayhi salatu wasalam, yes, if she sees either discharge in that regard. So this narration here, again, is proof from the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that in this scenario, the ghusl is legislated. And so, from the things that I mentioned, is the ghusl is legislated if the person or any scenario where semen leaves the body, or there's discharge in that regard. And so, again, Ibn Taymiyyah, raḥimahullāh, he mentions that this is the case whether the person is sleeping or they're awake. Wajib al-ghusl. So it's a must that the person performs the ghusl, regardless of whether they're sleeping or they're awake. So if the person sees that there is some effect or some remnants rather of the discharge, then the person performs the ghusl. And they say, or is mentioned, that the proof for this is the narration of Aisha. And the narration of Aisha mentions that a man came and he sees some of the remnants of discharge. However, he does not remember having any form of sexual dream. However, he is commanded to perform the ghusl. And then there's the example of the man that has the sexual dream. However, he does not see any remnants of discharge. And it's mentioned, لا غسل عليه. There's no ghusl which is upon him. It's not upon him to perform the ghusl. It's not an obligation. There's nothing that indicates that there's any semen that came from the person. So this narration is found in the Sunnah of Abi Dawud and the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. And in its reality, it's a narration which is da'if. It's a narration which is da'if, and Imam al-Tirmidhi, raḥimahullah, he mentions that so as well, that this narration is da'if. However, that which is mentioned by Shaykh al-Albani also, again, that the narration is da'if, However, there is another narration from Anas which strengthens it. There's another narration from Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu that strengthens it. So what we understand in that regard is that if you have a narration that is weak, however, with that narration it is referred, it has a da'f, as a weakness, it was referred to as a da'f yasir. So it's a minor weakness. Then it's possible that another narration that mentions the similar ahkam or similar wordings can strengthen that narration. Does that make sense, Ikhwan? So, does anyone know what an example of a minor weakness would be in a narration? Minor weakness.
Meaning da'if, like last lesson, not this lesson, but you mentioned
Liverpool.
yeah,
No.
that for someone to be da'if is when the 5 conditions in the Sahih
Well, the 5 conditions of Sahih are not fulfilled.
are not fulfilled.
Jayyid, Sahih. However, now we're saying that the narration, some narrations, they might have an extreme weakness. For example, if in the chain of narration it has fulan is kadhab, that is a major weakness. It doesn't matter if you find like a whole set of narrations, that narration itself can never be strengthened because it has a major weakness. Does it make sense? So we understand what a major weakness is. For example, the person's a liar, or he's muftaham bil kadhib. He's one that's accused of lying. He's an individual that lies when it comes to the speech of the people. So it's feared that he may lie upon the Messenger of Allah. These are major weaknesses. But what are we talking about when we say that there's a weakness which is not as major? Memory. Now. So for example, someone may be known to have a weak memory. He narrates, forgets. So that is it's less so of a bigger weakness. It's not a major weakness. Why? So if we have now, for example, and this is the case with this narration. Within this narration, you have a narrator known as Abdullah ibn Umar al-Amri. And he has a weakness in terms of his hifz. Now, he's laying hadith. However, what does it indicate if you have another narration that is the same as what he said?
He was right this time.
That he was right this time. That he was right this time. So then you can take that narration. And this is the case with here, in what we're discussing here. So, what we understand from this now is that the ruling is that if the person sees some remnants of discharge, then he has to perform the ghusl. If he doesn't see it, then he doesn't perform the ghusl. Now, this is the first thing. And any form of discharge of semen is something that necessitates the ghusl. Now, any form of discharge of semen is anything that necessitates the ghusl. Barakallahu feekum. Another act that necessitates the ghusl as well is the meeting of the 2 uncircumcised parts. Naam, iltiqa khitanayn. Iltiqa khitanayn. And this here is referring to, no doubt, the private parts. The private parts of the male and the private parts of the female. That in this scenario, it is something which obligates the ghusl. Now, this is something which is, the ruling upon this is that it is ijma'. This hukum, this particular ruling, that the meeting of the 2 private parts, it necessitates ghusl, then this is something which is there's a consensus on. There's a consensus amongst the scholars in that regard. And this is due to the narration, which is again muttafaqan alayh, a narration found in Bukhari and Muslim, and it's a narration of Abu Hurairah, radiallahu anhu, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال إذا جلس بين شعبها الأربع نعم ثم جاهدها فقد وجب الغسل. The hadith is muttafaqan alayh. And so the hadith, the narration mentions that if he was to sit between the four limbs of the woman and engage in sexual relations with her, then it obligates the ghusl. It's an obligatory to perform the ghusl. You have in the narration of Muslim as well, so we have the narration which is in both Bukhari and Muslim. However, in the narration of Muslim as well, there's ziyada, there's an extra wording as well, where it mentions وَإِن لَمْ يُنزِلْ. And so the narration mentions even if the man does not ejaculate. Naam. So even if there is no semen that comes from the male, it's still an obligation upon him to perform the ghusl. Naam. Does that make sense? So here, the reason why that is mentioned, or the reason why that is significant, should we say, is that if the semen exits the body and you have marital relations, sexual relations, then these two things are separated. Now they're two separate things. So you have the semen as one thing, and you have the relations as another thing. And it's not seen as one thing. Now if the semen exits the body in any scenario, then the person has to perform the ghusl of janābah. If the person now has sexual relations, and even if nothing comes from him from semen, the male does not ejaculate in that regard, then it's still the case that the person has to perform the ghusl. And so it's important that that distinction is made between the two. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. So, thereafter, you have the mentioning of Qudāmah, وَالْوَاجِبْ فِيهِ النِّيَّةِ وَتَأْمِيمَ بَدْنِهِ بِالْغُسْلِ مَعَ الْمَضْمَضَةِ وَاسْتِنْشَاقِ. And so the obligation when it comes to the ghusl is that the person has to have the niyyah. Now, and the water has to cover the whole body along with the madmada wa istinshaq. Madmada wa istinshaq is what? What's madmada wa istinshaq?
The water through the nose.
Put the water through the nose and the gargling water in the mouth. So this has to occur. And so you have two types of ghusl. You have the ghusl which is referred to as a kamil. And then you have the ghusl which is known as the ijza'u. So the ghusl kamil, or the ghusl kamal, rather. The ghusl kamal is the ghusl where the person performs the wudu. Now, just as you perform the wudu for the salah, then he performs the ghusl. From yaghtasil, he performs the ghusl. And the proof for this particular means of performing the ghusl is the hadith of Aisha and the hadith of Maymunah. And this is a narration where the Prophet ﷺ performed the ghusl by way of washing the hands, then performing the wudu, as is the wudu for the salah, and then pushing the water to the roots of the hair, by way of his hands. and pouring water over his head 3 times, and then washing the rest of his body. This is the narration of Aisha. So, this narration is an indication that the person can perform the ghusl in this particular way. This is the sifah of the ghusl, the description of performing the ghusl. Naam. And that's the ghusl of the kamal. As for the ghusl al-ijza', then this is causing the water, pouring all the water over the body with the intention of ghusl. Naam. With the intention of ghusl and wudu. And likewise, the person performs the madmada wa istinshaq. And we understand that the proof for this is the general ayah, the previous ayah mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ جُنُبًا فَطَهَّرُوا. That if the person is in the state of janābah, then perform the ṭahūr, or purify oneself. So is that clear, the two ways that a person can perform the ghusl? Now, what are they, Prophet? You can make the wudu, then the ghusl. Now, so you can then, or you could
pour water over your body with the intention.
Now, likewise, as well as mentioned, وَتَسَنُّ وَتَسْمِيَةً. And it's from the sunnah that the person mentions the tasmiyah, i.e. the basmala. So from the sunnah the person mentions the basmala when performing this act of the ghusl. And what would you say the proof for that is? There's no salah about the wudu. Or there's no wudu about the basmala. Oh, that's the narration you're using. No, I don't valid. But this is ghusl though.
When you come out of ghusl, aren't you in the state of wudu as well?
No, but this is talking about ghusl. Sah?
Yeah. Whatever is not begun with the basmala is cut off. Very good. Is it more specific?
No. What? Okay. To be fair, the narration you use is the correct narration. No, it's correct. But why is it correct?
The second one.
This is the first one, sorry.
Is that because if you're doing the first type of ghusl, you're going to be doing wudu first anyway?
No. Because within the action of ghusl is wudu. So the ahkam of wudu are going to be relevant for the ghusl. Hence the basmala is going to be relevant for the ghusl. Because the ahkam from the ahkam of wudu is the basmala. So hence why it is mentioned that it's from the sunnah to perform or to mention the basmala. But would you say it's from the sunnah? It's obligatory for the wudu, so then Allah Ta'ala knows best. You say it's obligatory for this as well. No, we say it's obligatory in both scenarios. And what is the manner in which we mention, or the basmala, how is the basmala done?
You have to do before you go in, or you can say semen, as Abu Khadija say, and you can say when you come out.
Naam. But I mean, naam.
Majority is in, like the West there, the bath separate and then.
Oh, that's a different masala though.
Yeah, that's a different matter because you can say that.
No, that's the different masala. I'm not asking about that though. I'm asking about something else. But we can talk about that afterwards though, inshallah. So, it's relevant. But what I'm saying is, going back to what we're talking about in terms of the wudu, now the person makes the ghusl, or rather the person does the basmala for the wudu. When do they do the basmala? That's what I'm asking.
When they do the first type. So, kamal.
Nah, but when do they do the basmala though? If you make a wudu, for example. When do you say the basmala?
Before undressing, if you are to the shower.
You are just sitting here. You make a wudu? If you make a wudu, just make a wudu.
Before you start.
Before you begin, now, what happens if you forget?
Okay, you say it when you remember.
You say it when you remember. So, what if you remember, you still don't say it?
That's not wudu.
It's not wudu. No. Allah Ta'ala knows best. So, the point I'm making here, we went a bit around the houses of this, but the main point is that the person has to say the basmala before doing so. So, and if it's the case for the wudu, then we'd say it's the case for the ghusl. If the person forgets, fi afna al-ghusl, so during the ghusl the person forgets, then when would they say it? As soon as they remember. Now, tell you, whilst we're there, we have a lot of the time, the bathrooms are in the toilet. So you have the toilet and you have the bathroom all in one place. And so then it may prove to be problematic if you're talking about saying the basmala. Why is that a problem, first and foremost? Or is it clear? Mention Allah's name, mention the name of Allah in the bathroom or toilet. But then, of course, these are the places where you make ghusl, make wudu. So, what's the solution? Tafadal.
Means if the time when, because I wasn't with the question, can you repeat it?
What's the solution? Well, if you have a toilet, bathroom like this,
Together.
nah, you have the bathroom and the toilet in one place. So it's by ilzam, you're going to have to make ghusl in this place. Or you're going to have to make wudu in this place. What do you do in terms of the basmala?
You can say something in your heart, just
Nah, you can say it within yourself, or
when you come out, or with the time before you in.
or before you enter.
Yes.
Nah. So before you enter, you can say the basmala, and then perform the action with that intent. Or say it within your own self. So, because you're saying the basmala with the intent of the wudu. So if, for example, you say the basmala before you go in, and you go in straight away and do the wudu, for that bats, inshallah. Allah Ta'ala knows best. So, likewise, as what was mentioned here, is وَيَدْلُقْ بَدْنَهُ بِيَدَيْهِ, and the person rubs the body with his hands. The person rubs the body with his hands. Yeah, as much as he can reach, basically. Just to make sure that the water reaches everywhere. Just to make sure that the water reaches everywhere. There's no doubt. The main qasd, the main intent of the ghusl is that the water reaches everywhere. Whether it be the ghusl al-kamal or the ghusl al-ajzai. So whether it be the ghusl for the complete type of ghusl, which is inclusive of the wudu, or the one where the person just makes sure the water reaches everywhere. It's important that the person does so. This is why it's recommended to wipe or rub the water across the body as well. And likewise as well, as they're mentioning, that if the person, the main thing as well is the intent, the niyyah. So it's important that the person has the niyyah. Important that the person has the niyyah. Because the person may have a shower and even perform the madhab istinshaq, but he's having a shower. We're not now going to say that the person is tahir in that regard. Salihun lis-salah. They're able to perform the salah. It's a must that the person has the niyyah. Na'am. Or mathalan, the person jumps in the sea. Na'am, he jumps in the sea. Can we say that he's now he's now pure and is able to perform the salah if he's upon janābah, my friend. If he makes the intention. So he said if he makes the intention, he jumps in the sea, then he's pure.
From the second type of ghusl, you mentioned that if he says if he has niyyah and
No.
pause or
So from the second type, it was a niyyah. Okay. From the second type.
water goes over his body.
And all the water goes over his body. Type,
And he
good.
does not and istinshaq.
And he does the madhab. Who agrees with what Khalid said? Khalid said, if the person jumps into the sea, and he said what? He has a niyyah. Let's go He said he has a niyyah. So he jumps into the sea. He has the niyyah. He says Bismillah. You allowing that addition? Sorry. Khalas. Sorry. You might be alone with that one, but we'll use it. He says the Basmala. He said he has a niyyah, has the Basmala, and does madbad or shinshaq. Naam. You're saying in this scenario, he will be pure. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, from the evidence in the Quran,
In kuntum junuban fatahharu. Who agrees? Who agrees? He jumped into the sea.
I think there's an opinion as well. They say you have to use with the like you can't use like a free.
No, there's some do mention this.
There's an opinion say without this one.
No.
Shaykh al-Bani,
No. Allah Alam. But what were we saying? This is the final thing, inshallah.
It's something to do with the water that will make it not correct.
You said it's the water that will make it correct.
the salt.
The salt, okay.
Yeah.
But could it be?
We don't listen with the water. He said that the sea is, if it's not najis,
So you're saying the water's okay?
yeah.
Okay.
Because
No.
the issue is that they're not pouring it over themselves.
The issue there's one mention that may be an issue. Okay. So what are we saying finally, Ikhwa? It's getting late. Now,
You have to do it all at once.
do it all at once. How do you mean?
When we go into the ocean with legs, we go in and then get spinning and force and you have to do it all at once.
So do it all at once.
The water has to go over the entire body.
Okay. But then, to be fair, if you're doing the ghusl in the bathroom, you're not going to do it all at once. It's going to be one part, another part, another part. No. Khalid set all the conditions, to be fair. I'm saying upon Khalid's conditions, are we going to say that the person comes out the sea and he's going to lead you in salah, you're going to pray behind him? Yes, okay. And reality is, in Allah Ta'ala knows best, the person has purified himself. Naam. Because, mentioned, he had the intention. Naam, that's what's mentioned for the ghusl. The person has to have the intention. What else did we mention? That the person has to perform the madmudah with istinshaq. He mentioned that. Naam. The person as well has to be the ta'meen. And the water has to reach the whole body. You jump in the sea, that's going to happen, inshallah. So, and also, the Ikhwa mentioned that the water of the sea is what? What's it referred to in Arabic? ṭahūr. The water is ṭahūr. Meaning that it's water that does what? is pure in of itself and it purifies other than it. So then in this scenario, Allah Ta'ala knows best, the person will be pure. Naam. Because he's fulfilled all of those things. So naam, the person could perform the ghusl where they do the wudu and they do all of these actions, but the person can also ensure, if they ensure that the water's reached everywhere, including the madwad of istinshaq, then they have purified themselves. Why? Actually, one last question, sorry. Why is the madwad of istinshaq specified here? Why? Why did they mention the madwad of istinshaq? Because?
To remove all the najis.
To remove all the najas? Eye from the nose, you're saying.
Oh no.
Yeah, madwad is, why is this specified? So they said use the whole body. So as long as water reaches the whole body. But then madwad istinshaq is mentioned as well. It doesn't automatically go in. But why would it need to go in? That's more my question. Why does it need to go in?
It needs to reach the whole body.
It needs to reach the whole body, and it is regarded as being from the face. Naam. The madwad istinshaq, the nose, the mouth, it's all regarded as being from the face. So because the water has to reach the whole body, including the face, that's why you have to do the madwad istinshaq in order to perform the ghusl. Allah alam. Naam.
And the second type of ghusl, does that, even if you do that one, does that, like if you do that one, would you be in a state of wudu after that?
Yeah. Because you've removed the major impurity. Because you remove the major impurity, it removes minor impurity as well. Now, Allah Ta'ala knows best. جزاكم الله خيرا إخوة. جزاكم الله خيرا. بارك الله فيكم. وصلى الله وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.